Our story kicks off with our MC in his workshop, completely locked in on an important job. He's standing before a forge, hammering a piece of metal with all his might. Facing the anvil, he raises his hammer with determination for one more perfect strike. With each powerful swing, sparks of energy fly to every corner of the dark room. Suddenly, a ghostly figure appears behind him, questioning if he's actually going to succeed. The blue-ish spirit keeps the taunts coming, asking if he's really going to go through with this whole revenge thing. Out of patience, our hero tells the ghost to get lost, but it just smirks and asks if it's guilt he's feeling. The specter scoffs at him, saying not to come at him with all that determination. Talk now. Our MC completely ignores the words and continues his work at the forge with even more force. From there, he starts to remember the past and a tragic scene involving a young woman. Right after, images of a chaotic and destroyed battlefield flash through his mind. He also remembers the painful moment he held his father in his arms just before he was gone. Because of this, the pain of loss consumes him, and he screams at the sky in the middle of a heavy downpour. Back in the present, the spirit accuses him of being a weaponsmith who now wants revenge. The ghost calls him ridiculous, and the protagonist just closes his eyes in silence. Despite the provocations, our MC opens his eyes with a cold stare and says he doesn't care. With that, he states that his determination is unshakable and his mind is already made up. Right after, the scene changes, and we see him holding a wooden box with a serious look on his face. It's revealed that he spent 15 years of his life as the blacksmith for the blood cult. He walks towards a massive palace, knowing that the tragedy he caused will never be forgotten. Because of that, he decides that with his own hands, he's going to put an end to everything. His determined expression shows he is completely focused on achieving his goal. Standing before the massive gates, he declares he's going to end it all, and that the demon craftsman will take his place. On the other side of the gates, a crowd is bowing in a large courtyard, celebrating the demonic heaven. A man is giving a speech about how the demonic heaven took over the world in just 15 years. Another man praises the Supreme Lord who is responsible for this entire conquest. At this moment, we meet the powerful Blood Demon Lord, sitting calmly on his throne. An announcer informs everyone that the demon craftsman will present the 11th divine weapon. With a clear path, our protagonist starts walking calmly towards the center of the courtyard. As he walks with the box, he thinks that even if this isn't redemption, he couldn't care less. Getting closer, he kneels to finally present the so-called divine weapon. With that, he raises the wooden box towards the announcer, who is waiting eagerly. At that moment, the box starts to glow with a very sinister purple energy, surprising everyone. The announcer stares at the box with wide eyes, not understanding what's happening. Upon opening the box, a dagger shrouded in a purple aura is revealed, and the man asks what it is. Suddenly, the dagger transforms into an intense light, and he yells that there's nothing in there. Our MC just watches him with a cold look, thinking that today is the day it all ends. With the situation escalating, the light materializes into a large blade of energy in front of the announcer. Without wasting any time, the blade shoots forward at high speed toward the frightened man. In a panic, he screams, asking what kind of trick this is, and calls our hero a worthless punk. From there, the attack hits him head-on, sending him flying with brutal force. With his clothes torn and in complete shock, he can barely believe what just happened. But our protagonist doesn't stop and releases an even more powerful wave of purple energy. This blast tears through the courtyard, destroying everything in its path with absurd power. The true target of the attack was actually the Blood Demon Lord, who is watching everything unfold. Sitting on his throne, the Blood Demon Lord just watches the attack with a bored expression. The powerful energy blast rushes forward and hits the Lord's barrier, causing a huge explosion. Our protagonist is completely shocked to see that his attack had absolutely no effect. As the smoke clears, he realizes the Lord blocked it all with just one hand and is completely unharmed. Even so, he doesn't give up and prepares another attack, saying it's not over yet. With that, he points at the Lord and says he's going to use the martial arts the Lord himself taught him. Faced with this, the protagonist unleashes all his power, willing to burn away his life and energy to win. A gigantic blade of purple energy forms above him with a very sinister appearance. His eyes glow with a fierce determination as he focuses all his power into the attack. In a cry of rage, he declares that he will take the Lord's life and launches his final move. The immense energy blade comes down with overwhelming force, causing a massive explosion. The impact of the blow is so strong that a shockwave violently sweeps across the entire courtyard. One of the cult members watches the scene in shock, wondering how that blacksmith has so much power. The dust slowly begins to settle, revealing the silhouette of someone amidst the destruction. It's our protagonist, who managed to stay on his feet, but a pool of blood is forming at his feet. Panting and wounded, our hero believes he finally did it, and that his revenge is complete. But a mocking voice comes from behind him, finding the whole situation quite amusing and catching him by surprise. The Blood Demon Lord reveals that the formless dagger can't be sensed and attacks him, He praises the weapon, saying it's a divine artifact worthy of its name, and lets it pass right through him. Our protagonist is in shock, wondering how the Lord knew about the dagger and how he's still alive. Without giving him time to think, the Lord grabs him by the neck with crushing force. The Blood Demon Lord asks if his faithful servant still doesn't get the situation. He reveals that even though he's a descendant of the Tang clan, his revenge is completely useless. While being choked, our hero tells the Lord to shut up with pure hatred in his eyes. The Lord says it's a shame, because if he still had his energy, he would have kept him alive somehow. Our protagonist ignores the taunts and places an eternal curse on the Demon Lord. The Lord says he hopes he'll meet his expectations next time and offers one final gift. From there, he begins to chant a strange incantation with unknown words. Our hero is terrified, not understanding what's happening or what the Lord plans to do. With one final blow, the Blood Demon Lord throws our protagonist's body far away. The Blood Demon Lord launches the final gift, which is a dagger of red energy. From there, an intense light shines in the palm of his hand as he prepares the attack. The red energy dagger shoots forward at high speed towards our hero. With that, our protagonist screams in pain as he's hit head-on by the reddish light. The impact of the blow sends him flying with brutal force and no chance to defend himself. Faced with this, he collapses to the ground, now lifeless, with the dagger stuck in his chest. As his body slowly falls, he wonders where it all went wrong. In his thoughts, he reflects that he was born with a deformed dantian, which is why he created artifacts. He laments never having lived the way he wanted and wonders if knowing the future would have changed anything. And so, on the day the demonic world descended, the life of Dang Si-woon came to an end. Suddenly, the scene changes completely to a table full of food in a dark place. Someone slams their hand on the table, yelling to get the attention of the person across from them. This man angrily asks if the person on the other side of the table is even listening to him. On the other side, our protagonist looks completely confused and asks where he is. He complains about the noise in the place and feels a sharp headache while trying to figure out the situation. Our protagonist realizes his senses are incredibly sharp and remembers that he had stopped breathing. In front of him, the angry man slams the table again and yells that his words aren't being heard. Not getting it at all, the aggressor calls him young Master Dang and tells him to snap out of it. From there, the man raises his hand and says that a dog who doesn't obey needs to be taught a lesson. Right after, he lands a hard slap across our hero's face, sending him flying sideways with force. With a hand on his cheek, our protagonist feels the sting of the hit and is completely stunned. The aggressor yells, asking if he's finally woken up, and our hero recognizes the faces in front of him. Suddenly, a sound startles him, and he quickly looks back to see what happened. On the floor, a drink has been spilled, creating a small puddle and adding to the tension of the moment. It's at this moment that he sees a girl on the floor, crying and calling him young clan leader. His eyes fill with fury and turn red as he understands the gravity of the situation. A tragic memory flashes in his mind, showing the same girl in a terrible situation. With that, he finally remembers everything and realizes he's gone back 16 years into the past. He recalls that on this day, the girl named Seal suffered something terrible, and he couldn't protect her. Looking at the girl on the floor, he is absolutely certain that he has returned to that fateful day. Our protagonist wonders if he's dreaming, but decides it doesn't matter what it is. Right after, he approaches Seol and comforts her, telling her not to worry. With a gentle look, he apologizes for not protecting her in the past and promises to change everything. The aggressor gets annoyed by what he says and lunges forward for another attack, full of anger. This time, our hero catches the man's fist with impressive strength, stopping it in mid-air. With that, he says he'll give him one chance and tells the man to apologize respectfully. The aggressor is shocked by his attitude and yells that the young master has finally lost his mind. He keeps running his mouth, saying our hero's sister was the one who came on to him, and asks if he's got a death wish. The man reveals she wasn't smart to reject his marriage proposal, and our hero cuts him off. Our protagonist tells him to shut his mouth, and the aggressor turns red with rage at the audacity. Unintimidated, our hero provokes him, saying his smell and appearance are disgusting. The taunt hits home, and the man clenches his fist, completely blinded by rage. Our protagonist finishes by saying that his character is even worse, and the man draws his weapon. From there, he charges forward with his sword, ready to end it all once and for all. But to the aggressor's surprise, our hero dodges the attack with incredible agility. Our protagonist thinks that a surprise attack is forbidden by the righteous sects and gets ready. He remembers that last time, he couldn't even fight back and was beaten mercilessly. But now, he dodges the blows with ease, showing off a surprising skill to everyone. With a confident smirk, our hero wonders if this is all the aggressor has got. The man calls him arrogant for just dodging and leaps up for a powerful aerial attack. His sword glows with intense energy as he prepares the strike with all his might. He yells that his luck won't last forever and charges in to end the fight for good. Suddenly, the aggressor is in shock, and our hero asks why things aren't going his way. It turns out our protagonist blocked the sword with his own, which seemed impossible. The two blades clash with force, creating sparks and a metallic sound that echoes through the hall. The aggressor can barely hold onto his sword, feeling our hero's superior strength in the block. Our protagonist stares him down with a cold, determined look, ready for the counter-attack. With a swift move, he spins and lands a powerful kick to the unsuspecting man's chest. The impact of the blow sends the aggressor flying into the air with brutal force, disarming him in the process. Desperately, he tries to recover in mid-air, but it's already too late to avoid a nasty fall. With his eyes glowing red, our protagonist shows a look full of hatred. The aggressor is completely terrified by the sinister aura coming from the young master. Without wasting a second, he rushes with absurd speed towards another man standing nearby. With a quick move, our hero snatches the guy's daggers before he can even react. The man panics and tries to tell him to stop, but it's already too late for that. Right after, he turns and lands a brutal strike on the first aggressor's arm. The man screams in pain, clutching his arm, which is now bleeding all over the floor. Our protagonist looks down on him and says it's too early for this, because they're just getting started. Lying on the ground, the man wonders how some nobody from the Tang clan managed to pull this off. He doesn't understand what dirty trick was used by someone who can't even use their danchin. With a cold look, our hero states that this time, he's not going to let this situation slide. He then starts walking towards the terrified man, who begs him not to come any closer. Our protagonist says he's no hero and that it's time to settle the score for good. The man's eyes fill with tears of pure desperation upon hearing those words. As his blade glows with a red energy, he warns that the next target is the heart. Our protagonist agrees and continues to walk towards the man, who pleads for him to stop. With his daggers crossed, he states that he's no hero and is just here to settle the score. At this, the man cries in despair, seeing that his fate has been sealed right there. Our hero's blade glows with a red energy, and he warns that the next target is the heart. The other two men are shocked and wonder how Li Ho-sung could have lost like that. One of them comments that the outcome seemed obvious, since it was a fight against a nobody from the Tang clan. Seeing the scene, one of the men approaches and suggests the young master should stop the fight now. Afraid of the situation, the guy tells his buddy that they'll go in first, and they bolt from there. Alone in the hall, our hero is enveloped by a sinister red aura that grows larger and larger. Suddenly, a sphere of purple energy begins to glow intensely in his chest. With that, a trickle of blood runs from his mouth, and he feels a sharp pain throughout his body. Our protagonist struggles to endure it, and thinks that he can't reveal his demonic energy. He turns to Li Ho-sung and says he never cared about being looked down on all the time. The real problem was the man's lack of basic human decency for doing that to Seal. Even injured, Li Ho-sung gets up and yells for our hero to get out of his sight now. Our protagonist says he deserves to be put down and lunges for the final blow with his dagger. The blade digs into Li Ho-sung's shoulder, who screams in pain from the impact of the direct hit. But suddenly, he senses a presence approaching and wonders who's coming now. A mysterious hand appears and grabs his arm with force, interrupting the decisive blow. Seeing what's happening, a man appears and shouts for young Master Dang to stop immediately. Our hero is surprised by the interruption and turns to face the newcomer. A group of warriors emerges and declares that they can no longer ignore the situation in the hall. He recognizes them as the dragon's successor guards, the personal guards of the disciples. The group's commander, Sun Yu-gon, approaches and calls him a useless mutt with contempt. His eyes gleam with hatred as he realizes they were all in on it from the beginning. It's revealed that these men, along with Li Ho-sung, would become known as the worst traitors. Because of this, our hero decides he needs to eliminate all of them right here and now, without fail. The commander stares him down and asks what he'll do if they decide not to ignore the situation. Our protagonist questions what right they have to interfere since Li Ho-sung isn't an official disciple. Faced with the sharp comeback, Sun Yu-gon is completely shocked and at a loss for words. Sun Yu-gon thinks that our hero is right about Li Ho-sung but wonders how he could know that. Our protagonist accuses him of watching everything quietly but now wanting to interfere with punishing evil. At the accusation, Sun Yu-gon calls him insolent and states that punishment is not his place. Our hero just cracks a sarcastic smile, finding the whole situation pretty funny. With that, he asks if this is the standard of the righteous path, leaving the commander speechless. With a sinister look, our protagonist sarcastically comments that they're really impartial. Completely furious, Sun Yu-gon draws his sword and accuses him of dishonoring the martial alliance. The commander then gives him one last chance to kneel, or things are going to get really bad for him. Unfazed, he asks if Sun Yu-gon got the commander position just by running his mouth. With his face red with rage, the man says our hero's arrogance is absurd and has no limits. From there, he loses his patience and with a gesture, orders his men to capture him right now. The fight begins, and our hero assesses that Sun Yu-gon must be at the peak master level. On top of that, he finds himself surrounded by 3 other first-class warriors ready to fight. One of the guards attacks with everything he's got, but our protagonist blocks his sword without any trouble. The small dagger stops the sword's blade, showing off our hero's absurd strength. With a quick move, he lands a kick on one of the guards and prepares for the next one. Our protagonist calmly dodges a surprise attack from behind by a hair's breadth. One of the guards tries an overhead strike, but our hero dodges at the last second. Faced with this, he finds himself surrounded by the 2 warriors who attack him relentlessly. Even at a disadvantage, our hero maintains a focused gaze and analyzes every move. As such, he manages to dodge every single blow with impressive agility. He thinks that after using the single-point annihilation, he only has 2 years of energy left. Because of this, our protagonist decides he needs to end this fight as quickly as possible. One of the guards charges with a war cry, ready to deliver a powerful blow. With a quick step, our hero slides across the floor and positions himself for the counter-attack. Right after, he leaps over the guard with his daggers in hand for the final strike. From there, he lands a clean hit on the man's back, who screams in pain from the impact. With that, the guard falls to the floor, completely defeated and with no chance of getting up. Without wasting a moment, our protagonist launches a powerful energy blast at another opponent. The last guard is completely shocked to see his comrade defeated so easily. Without losing momentum, our hero charges towards the last guard left standing. Absolutely furious, the man yells that he's a third-rate warrior and accuses him of messing with them. At the insult, our protagonist just tightens his grip on his dagger. Seeing his cold stare, the guard panics and calls him a monster without a second thought. Suddenly, Sun Yu-gon yells furiously and tells our hero to cut the crap immediately. Our protagonist senses the commander's presence and turns his head, surprised by his speed. With his eyes glowing red, Sun Yu-gon lands a devastating kick on our hero. The impact of the blow is so strong that it sends him flying with absurd force, completely defenseless. With that, he hits the ground hard and feels the pain of the attack spread through his entire body. Down and injured, our hero faces the commander, who now approaches with a look of contempt. Sun Yu-gon curses him and asks how a nobody like him dares to make such a mess. He says his place is on the ground, and that he's nothing but third-rate trash. The commander keeps on with his lecture, but our MC has had enough of all the yapping. He can only think about how loud Sun Yu-gon is and that he can't even catch a break. With a determined look, he thinks that the method he's about to use is the best he can do. He decides that even if he has to force it, he has no other choice but to open his upper dantian. Seeing this, Sun Yu-gon is surprised and yells, asking what he's doing now. Our hero taunts him, saying all he does is talk, and the commander says the result will be the same. He tells the commander to stop stalling and to bring it on as his dagger begins to glow. At this, Sun Yu-gon gets furious and says if he really wants to get taken out, he'll grant his wish. From there, he leaps forward with his sword in hand, ready to finish our hero off for good. But our protagonist waits for him calmly, surrounded by a powerful aura of blue lightning. Suddenly, his eyes go wide as he feels something unexpected happening inside his body. Sun Yu-gon is in shock seeing the formless dagger and wonders why it's there. He wonders if the dagger entered his dantian back then, but can't understand how it's there. The commander yells that it's over and that no matter the reason, what matters is that the power is his. Faced with this, our hero's daggers fall to the ground and the fight seems to have reached its end. But he gathers a massive amount of blue energy and declares he'll end it all in a single blow. Right after, a golden energy begins to swirl mysteriously throughout the hall. This energy surrounds Sun Yu-gon and stops his attack, leaving him completely stunned by the scene. Sun Yu-gon panics as he realizes his body no longer obeys his commands. Right after, a mysterious figure takes a step forward, enveloped in a golden aura. The man walks calmly towards our hero, who watches the scene attentively. Our protagonist is in complete shock to see a white-haired old man in front of him. With a touch on the shoulder, the newcomer calls him Young One, with a calm and serene voice. He warns him that such power shouldn't be used carelessly, and our hero is taken aback. From there, our protagonist finally understands who the person standing there is and is left speechless. Everyone bows before the strongest martial artist of the era, the great leader of the Alliance. It's revealed that he is the master of the martial alliance, the Sword Emperor, Yu Jin-hak. Our hero's surprise is immense as he comes face to face with such a legendary and powerful figure. With a calm gesture, Yu Jin-hak advises him to be very careful with his abilities. The warning about using his power echoes in our hero's mind as he's still processing the whole situation. The imposing presence of the Martial Alliance Master fills the hall with his overwhelming aura. Before him, all the guards kneel as a sign of respect upon recognizing their supreme leader. The identity of the Sword Emperor is confirmed, completely changing the course of the fight. Our protagonist stares at the master in silence, still shocked by the appearance of the legendary man. A complicated expression appears on his face as he remembers the Emperor's tragic past. He recalls the war against the Blood Cult, when the alliance's defeat seemed inevitable. Back then, many knelt before the blood cult to survive amidst the chaos. But the leader and his Wudang clan sect were different and fought bravely until the very end. As the guardian of the righteous path, the Sword Emperor took up his weapon every single day to fight. This continued until the day he met his end by the very weapon our hero himself had created. Back in the present, he picks up his dagger from the floor, pushing the bitter memories aside for a moment. He thinks this is no time to get sentimental and is relieved that Yu Jin Hak can't sense the dagger. Not even the blood demon knew about it, so it makes sense that the great master wouldn't either. From there, the young man starts to think about his next problem and how he's going to handle the situation. He wonders if, should the emperor change his mind, he would be able to counter-attack with this. Faced with the silence, the great master finds it all very peculiar and gives a slight smile. Yu Jin Hak reveals that he can't see anything and that this is the first time something like this has happened. Therefore, he concludes that the young man before him possesses a very interesting talent. Our protagonist tenses up, and a drop of sweat runs down his face at the master's words. Suddenly, a female voice says he must have been really scared, and the young man turns in surprise. A woman places a hand on Seal's shoulder to calm her down, and says that everything's okay now with the girl. With a gentle look, she tells the young lady to rest a bit more before getting up. Our hero wonders who this woman is, and how he didn't sense her presence there. Yu Jin Hak calls her a brat, and asks what he would do if she just disappeared like that again. She apologizes to the great master, and the three of them face each other in the middle of the trashed hall. Upon hearing the name Boyan, our hero is shocked and wonders if it's who he thinks it is. He recognizes her as the divine Dr. Boyan, a former sect leader and a powerful healer. With this, he realizes the situation has gotten even more complicated with her arrival. The scene then shifts to 15 minutes earlier in a beautiful garden with a small pond. Boyan is talking with Yu Jin Hak and says she has warned him about this over and over again. With a serious look, the great master states that those men will never change their ways. He laments that many in the alliance have forgotten honor, which is why he became the leader of it all. With a sad expression, he realizes that even after all this time, nothing has really changed. Boyan pours him a drink and asks if he thought fixing the world would be easy. With that, she calls him a stubborn mule for overloading himself with so many problems alone. The two continue their conversation peacefully, sitting outside near a pond. The divine doctor advises him not to try to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders without help. She suggests that if things get too tough, he should just drop everything and go relax with some good wine. At the unusual advice, the great master just gives a light smile, finding it amusing. But suddenly, his expression changes completely as he senses a strange energy coming from afar. Boyan scolds him, saying it's not funny because if he falls to the demons, no one will save him. He then suggests that she could help him, and the doctor turns her head, surprised by his audacity. With a vein popping on her forehead, she gets completely furious and calls him a scoundrel. Back in the present, Boyan calls him a fast mule, and wonders how he got there so quickly. Analyzing Li Ho's song, she says the damage is very severe and not even an immortal could save him. Sun Yu Gon explains that the young man used projectiles to defeat a first-class master. What the doctor said was right, and our hero steps forward to confirm the story. From there, she turns to our protagonist and asks if he really used projectiles. Faced with the question, Yu Jin Hak just stares at him with a serious look, thinking that maybe he knows what's going on. From there, the great master observes the completely destroyed hall with guards down everywhere. Sun Yu Gon yells in desperation that Li Ho Sung's injuries are very severe and that he needs help. Lying on the ground, our hero laments and wonders how things got to this chaotic point. Faced with the situation, the commander justifies himself, saying he didn't want to get involved but had no other choice. The Sword Emperor looks at our protagonist on his knees and says he finally understands the situation. With a serious look, the great master asks our hero how he's going to explain this whole mess. And so, he gets up and says there's nothing to explain, as he only used the martial arts of the Tang clan. Our protagonist states that what he did to those who touched his family still wasn't enough. With that, he says that courtesy to his elders ends here, and picks up his daggers from the floor with determination. His eyes glow with a red aura, and he warns that he's not holding back anymore against anyone who gets in his way. Yu Jin Hak gets furious and asks if he's really going to throw his life away over a simple emotion. Not caring about the words, our protagonist lunges forward to attack the great master with all his speed. Faced with the imminent attack, the Emperor activates his powerful golden light eye technique with an intense glow. From there, our hero feels a crushing pressure on his body and can barely move from his spot. The great master asks if revenge is worth more than life, but our hero denies it, saying that's not it. In his thoughts, he reflects that in this life, he has a much greater goal to achieve. Right after, he remembers a destroyed sign amidst the chaos of his past life. Faced with this, Our protagonist states that he's just trying to fix this broken world, little by little. With a firm gaze, he declares that he will follow the same path as the master, even if he has to burn his life away. Yu-Jin Hak remembers Boyen's words about how fixing the world would be anything but easy. With that, the emperor turns and says that if this is truly the young man's sincere wish. Our protagonist is completely surprised by the great master's unexpected attitude. Suddenly Yu-Jin Hak unleashes a golden aura, and several swords appear around him out of nowhere. One of the golden blades sticks into the ground with impressive force right in front of everyone. And so, the emperor creates a huge yin-yang symbol with his supreme sword technique. Our hero watches in awe, thinking they say enlightenment can be achieved just by observation. He admits that, aside from that, the great master's movement is something very beautiful to see. The beauty of the technique is so great that he thinks it would be an honor to be struck by a sword like that. At that moment, he finally understands the essence of the Wudang sword, which is strength within gentleness. Suddenly, the great master shouts with all his might, grabbing everyone's attention. He approaches the fallen Li Ho Song and calls him by name, with his sword in hand. With a shocked face, the young man can barely believe it and calls him Master, with a trembling voice. Relieved, he says his master has finally arrived and bows before him on the wooden floor. But Boyen scolds him, saying he caused trouble and went off on someone who almost passed on. At this, Yu-Jin Hak points the sword at his neck and says his opponent risked his life. The great master questions him about his honor, and Li Ho Song is left speechless by the question. Desperate, he tries to justify himself, saying he'll risk his life and that it was our hero who started it. But the master tells him to shut his mouth and says if he hears one more thing, his ears will rot. Right after, the emperor turns to our protagonist and apologizes for the whole mess. Our hero thanks him and Li Ho Song screams for his master, not understanding what's happening. With a cold look, the great master states that he never had a disciple like that young man. And so, he leaves the man's punishment up to our hero, who gets ready to act. Surrounded by an aura of blue lightning, our protagonist walks towards the terrified man. With the sword in his hand, he yells for the punk not to come any closer, and our hero says that passing on is a luxury. With that, he concentrates a large amount of blue energy in his fist, ready for the attack. Without wasting any time, our hero lands a devastating punch on the terrified man's chest. The impact of the blow is so strong that the blue energy spreads uncontrollably throughout his body. From there, a sphere of energy forms and explodes with an absurd and uncontrollable power. And so Li Ho Song is thrown far away with brutal force and no chance to defend himself. He twists in the air as the wooden floor shatters into many small pieces. Desperate, the man screams in pain, feeling the agony completely take over his body. Our protagonist stares at him with a cold look and says he must live in an agony worse than being gone for good. The great master just watches the scene in silence, showing no apparent reaction. Our hero turns to Yu-Jin Hak and asks to leave the judgment of those men to him. The other guards comment that since the culprit has been punished, it's best for them to back off now. With a respectful gesture, he says that since the emperor ignored his rudeness, he'll do the same. Right after, he thanks him for preserving his dignity and walks towards Seal. With the girl in his arms, he promises he will visit her clan when everything is resolved. As he walks away, the great master asks if our hero can spare a little of his time. At the request, our hero turns and says he has enough time for a short talk. With a smirk, he adds that he can make a little time for a cup of tea. The scene changes, and a woman appears asking where everyone is going in such a hurry and confusion. Elsewhere, our hero walks up to a table and looks at a picture frame with great attention. In the portrait, he sees an older version of himself with a confident look and says that he really did it. Back in the present, he confirms to himself that he finally managed to go back to the past. At that moment, he remembers the Blood Demon Lord's words, saying he would see him again. With that, he clenches his fist and wonders if this whole situation was intentional on the Lord's part. With his face covered by a shadow, he becomes completely furious at this sinister possibility. He swears he will make the demon regret everything, without fail, no matter what this time. With a determined look, he states that this new life will be completely different from the last one. From there, he walks to a tall bookshelf and starts looking for something very important. Right after, he finds what he was looking for and carefully takes an old book from the top shelf. It's revealed that this is the Book of the Metal Circulation Technique, an ability from his clan. His determined look shows that he's ready to start his plan for revenge, once and for all. Looking at a puddle on the floor, he wonders if that's a remnant of his past life. Suddenly, he feels an agonizing pain and starts coughing up a black liquid nonstop. On his knees, he realizes that circulating energy through meditation was a complete failure. Turns out, the metal circulation technique was made to help with forging and regenerating the body. But it's terrible for accumulating energy, and his Danshin recognizes the internal energy as poison. Because of this, he had no other choice and now can only move forward with his plan. This same technique gave him the ability to create divine artifacts with absurd power. And the blood demon's martial art that he learned taught him a different solution. A blue aura surrounds his feet as he prepares to test this new method now. He remembers that even before he came back, his deformed Danshin couldn't be removed, no matter what. And so, the situation remains the same, and he needs a new approach to the problem. With a quick movement, he begins to practice a martial art with a golden energy. But he states with conviction that this time, he will progress much faster than before. Time passes quickly, and night arrives, bringing darkness to the Grand Palace. Under the light of the full moon, silence takes over the place, and he continues his intense training. After much training, he realizes his meridians are connected, and his Danshin is complete. With that, his energy finally stabilizes, and he feels a great power flowing through his body. He thinks his circulation technique is at 50%, and the blood demon's is at 10%. Both use the upper Danshin and innate energy, and one calmly recovers power. Meanwhile, the other technique increases the amount of energy he can use in a fight. Faced with the situation, he floats in the air and thinks that no one would believe his current power. With a confident smile, he feels proud for being able to use his innate energy freely now. Right after, he realizes that since he blocked his energy, no one can sense him nearby. From there, he decides he first needs to change his clothes to avoid raising suspicion. While walking through the room, our hero remembers something very important and stops suddenly. He then wonders why the formless dagger came back to the past with him and is confused. His eyes widen at the thought of the possibility, and he can barely believe what he's thinking. Suddenly, a young man appears at the door and observes him in silence for a brief moment. The young man calls him young clan leader and apologizes profusely for the sudden interruption. Our protagonist says it's alright, and that he was expecting to be called by them at any moment. The young man is startled, and our protagonist asks if he's Jang Il. The young man just stammers that he is. Our hero then says he was talking about his name, and Jang Il confirms, wondering how he knew. With a smile, our protagonist says it's really good to see him again, leaving the young man very confused. From there, the scene changes, and we see our hero walking through a courtyard with a very serious expression. He then arrives in front of a large hall called the Hall of 1,000 Rains and prepares to enter. Inside, someone questions him if what he's saying makes sense, and he asks if there's another way to avoid it. Suddenly, one of the hall doors opens, revealing a bright light coming from the meeting room. Upon entering, he is met with a long table full of men who stare at him with great contempt. One of the older men in the group observes him with a look of pure anger and displeasure. Unfazed, our hero walks through the hall, passing by everyone present there without fear. One of the men makes a disgusted face upon seeing the confident attitude of the young man before him. Suddenly, a tragic memory comes to his mind, showing him holding someone in his arms. The image reveals he was over the body of a man who seemed to be very important to him. The painful memory of holding that man's lifeless body haunts him again in the hall. Faced with this, he unleashes a golden aura and prepares for what's to come with great determination. With a firm gesture, he introduces himself as the young leader of the clan, Dang Si-woon, in front of everyone. At this, a painful memory of a desperate scream under the full moon hits him hard. Even with the tragic memory, he maintains his posture and faces the clan members with a cold look. From there, he declares that he came there on the order of the clan leader himself, surprising everyone. An older man tells him to stand up, and it's revealed that he is Dang Mu-yel, the leader of the Tang clan. At the order, our hero just stands up and confirms that he understood the great leader's command. The other men watch him from a distance and wonder where all the confidence he's showing comes from. With a serious look, our protagonist states that the current Tang clan is in a poisoned state. He says the discussion seemed to be going well, and that it's all because of 2 fatal poisons in the clan. And so, he raises his hand and informs everyone that he will continue with his speech right now. Right after, we meet Dang Ho-yel, the head of the Manhwa agency's escort. They're in the room. The man says he believes the young leader is well aware of the seriousness of the incident he caused, but our protagonist reveals that the first poison is actually Dang Ho-yel himself. Desperate, the man begs him to go straight to the clan's law enforcement hall. Suddenly, a sinister bear-like figure appears and says that everything he has built is at stake. With a clenched fist, our hero faces the man with a look of pure determination and courage. He remembers promising that he would take everything from him without fail in a past confrontation. From there, he recalls the day his uncle asked if he would become independent from the clan. Confused, he questioned what the man meant, and he just confirmed his words with a smile. Desperate, our hero yells that if the escort agency disappears, the Tang clan will suffer greatly. But his uncle pushes him and says that's exactly why he's leaving right now. On the ground, he can barely believe it and asks how the man could do such a thing. The traitor says he doesn't understand and that he lost the position of clan leader to Dang Mu-yel. With a shocked look, He hears his uncle say that he has waited for this day for a very long time. At this, the man cracks an evil smile and declares that the Tang clan will finally be his. Back in the present, he thinks that if he hadn't mastered his technique, he wouldn't have his talent. Because of that, even before the invasion, the Tang clan would have been destroyed by financial ruin. Suddenly, a hand grabs Dang Ho Yale's arm and he angrily calls him head of the escort. A man named Dang Jun questions how he dares to be so disrespectful to the rightful heir. He adds that no one who goes to that hall comes back unscathed, and that this can't happen. At this, Dang Ho Yale pretends to be sad and says his heart is also heavy with the situation. But he adds that this is the only way for the Tang clan to survive in the end. One of the men asks Butler's son if any faction would side with them against the Qingqing sect. We meet Sanjian, the chief butler of the outer hall, who remains silent for a brief moment. Our protagonist thinks that although the clan is intimidated, no one will take their side in this fight. He realizes that the clan's fighting spirit is gone and that this defeatism is the second poison of the place. With that, he states that kindness should be returned and that this is the true nature of his clan. One of the men asks how he defeated the disciple and if he used any forbidden weapons in the fight, but our hero just stares at him and says he's wrong and that his turn to pay will come soon. With a cold look, he adds that this is not the question the man should be asking him. The man becomes completely furious with the audacity and yells that this is no time for jokes in the hall. With a mocking smile, he says he doesn't know how he won, but that he's just a third-rate warrior. And so, the man unleashes a powerful green energy and boasts about his peak master level. But to his surprise, the young man withstands the pressure, and the man wonders how he resisted his energy. Suddenly, the great clan leader speaks up and tells everyone to be silent immediately in the hall. With that, the great leader asks why the young leader fought with Li Ho Song and gives him a serious look. Faced with the question, our hero just gives a small smirk with a confident look in his eyes. Dang Ho yells furiously and says the young leader is being way too confident about the whole situation. Unfazed, our protagonist turns to his uncle and asks what the clan means to him. The man is confused, and our hero begins to explain what the Tang clan was like to everyone there. He says that each member is a cornerstone, and that the family must protect each other with their lives. And so, it's revealed that these words were the last will of the former leader of the Tang clan. With a clenched fist, he states that to protect their own blood, they do not hesitate to give their lives. The great clan leader just watches him in silence, processing the young man's words. The other members get nervous and wonder what exactly the problem is with all this commotion. Our hero then asks if he should have just watched while Seal was being attacked by that man. But Dang Ho Yell says his question about the forbidden weapons still hasn't been answered for good. Not caring, our protagonist reveals the small daggers he used in the fight against his opponent. One of the men says it's just a training dagger and asks how he beat the disciple with that. Our protagonist explains that he managed to subdue a first-class warrior because he used his innate energy. One of the men says if that's the case, punishing Li Ho Song makes sense, as he fulfilled the former leader's will. Our protagonist asks if his uncle's doubts have been resolved, and the man becomes furious at his boldness. The clan leader then states that the young man really did risk his own life to fight that man. One of the men asks if he really used his innate energy, as it seemed normal when he returned. Our hero explains that it was thanks to the alliance leader and the divine doctor who treated him on the way back. Dang Ho yells that it's a lie, and suddenly a messenger runs in, calling for the clan leader. Jang Il looks at the scene worriedly and thinks the situation is really bad and that something terrible is about to happen. He tries to announce the alliance's arrival, but the great master Yu Jin Hack is already right behind him in the hall. The sudden appearance of the Sword Emperor leaves all the clan members completely shocked and speechless. With a smile, Yu Jin Hack places his hand on Jang Il's shoulder, who is completely frozen by the touch. The great master announces his arrival and asks if everyone in the hall has been doing well lately with a smile. Dang Mu Yil bows and greets the alliance leader while our hero just watches the scene in silence. The emperor apologizes for not being properly received but says not to worry about formalities. The clan leader thanks him for accepting the apology and prepares to say something else very important, but he says he also won't mind the leader's rudeness, leaving the others shocked at his audacity. Dang Mu Yale is speechless at the audacity and asks if the emperor is talking about rudeness. Right after, he says the great master's visit is an honor and that there's no rudeness at all. Taking the cue, Dang Ho Yale bows and introduces himself as the head of the escort to the alliance leader. Yu Jin Hack just stares at him and confirms who he is with a serious look. Suddenly, the great master's eyes fill with an intimidating golden energy. He stares at our hero's uncle with a not so friendly expression in the hall. With a crushing pressure, he asks if Dang Ho Yale can excuse himself from the conversation. The man is completely terrified and apologizes, stuttering in fear. The clan leader says it'll be difficult to serve tea now, but Yu Jin-hak doesn't mind. He states that he needs to act as the leader of the martial alliance at that moment. And so, the emperor turns to the leader and says that first, he needs to speak with him and the entire Tang clan. His serious expression shows that the matter is of extreme importance to everyone. From there, the great master joins his hands in a formal gesture of great respect. His eyes close for a moment as he prepares for what he is about to say. In front of everyone, he bows deeply and apologizes on behalf of the martial alliance. The emperor's unexpected action leaves all the clan members in complete shock. Dang Muyel says he should have taught his disciple better and that the fault is all his. He takes responsibility for the lack of supervision as the young man's master. Yu Jin-hak says that as an apology to the victim and to the Tang clan. He assures them he will provide great compensation for the trouble that was caused there. But the clan leader states that they did nothing to defend justice at that moment. His voice carries a weight of regret for the inaction of all his men. At this, he reveals that it was our protagonist who resolved everything alone with his own hands. The young man just watches the scene in silence and with a very serious look. Because of this, the clan leader refuses to accept any kind of compensation for the clan. He believes they don't deserve to receive anything for the young man's bravery. However, he begs the alliance leader to ensure that the incident is not distorted. His gesture shows his desperation to protect the honor of his clan and his nephew. Our protagonist thinks that the Qingqing sect will spread rumors to cover up their shame. And that just like in the past, those arrows will be pointed at him and the Tang clan. The great master assures him that his worries will not come true, no matter what. He states that regarding today's commotion, the Qingqing sect will be able to do nothing. With a firm gaze, he declares that they will not be able to hold the Tang clan responsible in any way. His word as the alliance leader seals the rival sect's fate. Our protagonist thinks the outcome wasn't bad at all and that everything worked out in the end. He managed to tie the Qingqing sect's hands and renew his father's position. With that, the emperor turns and says that now there's only one last little thing to be done. Our hero is confused and wonders what else it could be now. The great master stares at him with a mysterious look, making the young man even more curious. His expression suggests that something very important is about to happen. Approaching him, he asks a question that no one expected to hear at that moment. His voice comes out calm, but the request is something completely out of the ordinary for everyone. The Sword Emperor asks if the young man would like to become his disciple. The request leaves everyone in the hall with their jaws on the floor, unable to believe what they just heard. Our protagonist is completely stunned and wonders if he heard that right. He can barely believe that the great master invited him to be his disciple. The other men comment on whether the young leader will become the master's sixth disciple. One of them corrects him, saying that since Li Ho Song was kicked out, he would be the fifth. Everyone knows that any sect with a disciple of the leader becomes a central power. This means the Tang clan could finally regain its lost former glory. The possibility of rebuilding the clan and reclaiming the honor they lost comes to everyone's mind. It would be the perfect chance for the clan to return to the top of the power ladder. The great master cracks a small smile, amused by the young man's reaction. He comments that the young man is finally showing a face that matches his age. Yu Jin-hak seems pleased to see our hero's genuine expression of surprise. He adds that now he really looks like a young man. Our protagonist thanks the alliance leader for the generous offer he made. But Dang Ho Yel panics, thinking his power in the clan is about to crumble. To everyone's surprise, our hero refuses the great master's offer. While he apologizes, Yu Jin-hak pulls something from his robes with a smile. The emperor ignores the refusal and invites him to go with him to Kaifeng the next day. At this, our hero is completely confused, not understanding anything. Suddenly, it dawns on him, and Yu Jin-hak is shocked that he's actually refusing his offer. His surprised expression shows he never expected this answer. The great master says it's his first rejection and asks the reason for the refusal. Our protagonist apologizes and explains that he will represent his clan in the future. With a formal gesture, he says that just as the emperor's only master is Wudang, he prepares to explain the real reason for his loyalty to his own clan. And so, he declares that his only master will be the Tang clan and unleashes a powerful aura. His determination to protect his family is unshakable and surprises everyone. The clan leader, Dang Muyel, watches him with a look of pride and admiration. The young man's attitude shows the strength and loyalty he values so much in the clan. Yu Jin-hak agrees that the reason makes sense, and our hero feels relieved inside. He thinks that luckily, the leader doesn't usually use his golden light eye technique. In his thoughts, he reflects that the privileges are tempting, but they are a poisoned chalice. If his demonic arts are discovered, it will be his immediate and irreversible end. The great master admits that he still feels a little disappointed with the decision. Our protagonist agrees and says that his last teaching was a great help. He remembers the Taiji technique in a single blow and is amazed by its principles. The depth of Wudang's martial art left him completely impressed. Suddenly, the emperor is shocked and wonders how the young man managed to see through that. Our hero's perception of the technique surprised him in an absurd way. With that, he turns to the leader of the Tang clan and praises the young man's incredible talent. The great master recognizes that the young man is a rare genius with great potential. Yu Jinhak doesn't know what to do and admits that the young man is indeed very tempting. The desire to have him as a disciple is still very strong and hard to ignore. The clan leader thanks him and says he is very kind, but there must be reasons for the refusal. He trusts his nephew's decision even without understanding all the reasons behind it. Our hero maintains his firm gaze, and the emperor says he can't force him to go. But his words leave an air of mystery and suspense in the great hall. Yu Jinhak says he can't go back empty-handed and draws a sword with a golden glow. Our protagonist immediately recognizes the moonlight pattern on the weapon with great surprise. With that, the sword shines with intense energy, and he says its name is Moon Wave. He adds that he will add a small debt to the next generation of warriors. Faced with the situation, he offers the weapon to our protagonist and says its mystical properties will help him one day. The clan members are completely shocked and recognize the sword forged from meteorite iron. They can barely believe he gave such a rare weapon to the young clan leader. Dang Muyel understands that this goes far beyond a simple apology gift. He realizes the emperor is officially acknowledging the young leader of the Tang clan. Our hero holds the shining sword and thinks with a serious and determined look. He concludes that the material to create a divine artifact has just fallen into his lap. Suddenly, with a sinister smile, his demonic side says it's great luck. With that, he states that all preparations for creating the artifact are complete. Our protagonist bows in a gesture of respect and accepts the weapon so as not to be disrespectful. Yu Jinhak smiles, satisfied, and thanks him for accepting his gift. Right after, the great master offers a personal gift with his name written on the front. He advises the young man to present it whenever he needs any kind of help. Yu Jinhak guarantees that with that item, any request of his will be treated as if it were from the master himself. This would give him absurd power and influence in the Central Plains. Dang Ho Yel is completely shocked by so many privileges for the young man. First the legendary sword, and now the personal symbol of the great leader of the Martial Alliance. Completely blinded by hatred and envy, he wonders what's so special about that brat. His furious expression shows how much he despises his nephew. The scene then changes completely, and we see a drink being poured into a bowl in a dark place. Sunlight streams through the cracks in the window, illuminating the wooden table. A mysterious man wearing a straw hat at a table complains about his bad luck with great anger. He seems to be very frustrated with something that happened recently. It's revealed that he is Sun Yu Gon, the commander of the guards who was humiliated earlier. He crumples a piece of paper in his hand and curses our hero with hatred in his eyes. In a restaurant, a man comments that all of Sichuan is buzzing because of the Tang clan. He says that if the Alliance leader's judgment isn't wrong, they might return to glory. Another young man asks if he heard about the dragon's successor guards and the commotion. He reveals they all received a heavy punishment, and the commander was exiled to Xinjiang. The first man asks if it's the mountainous region, and his friend confirms the information. He adds that the commander's career in important positions is over for good. Back to Sun Yugan, he remembers that our hero used projectile techniques in the fight. Completely outraged, he wonders how they could punish him for that. With a clenched fist and surrounded by a red aura, he swears he will repay this humiliation. His revenge will be relentless, and he won't rest until he gets what he wants. The scene then shifts to the Sichuan Tang clan during a very dark and quiet night. Several guards patrol the courtyards of the Grand Palace under the light of the full moon. On one of the rooftops, 2 guards remain alert at their watch posts with their swords. The night is calm, but the tension in the air is thick after everything that happened. In his room, our protagonist seems very thoughtful and a bit worried about the situation. His father's voice echoes in his mind, saying he worries too much about everything. He remembers his father ordering the number of guards to be increased and forbidding him from leaving. Our hero finds all this worry and care a complete exaggeration at the moment. Even so, he thinks he doesn't want to be a disobedient son to his own father. His expression shows that he respects the decision even if he doesn't quite agree with it. Suddenly, the moon wave sword he received as a gift begins to float and glow intensely. The weapon's energy fills the entire room with a golden and very mysterious light. From there, he stands up and says he can't just keep wasting his time like this. He knows he needs to act as quickly as possible to achieve his goals. And so, he picks up the sword and unsheathes it with a very confident smile on his face. The blade glows with a bluish energy and an impressive, otherworldly power. With that, he declares it's time to go and runs out of the room with the weapon in hand. Our protagonist is ready to start his grand plan once and for all. Outside, one of the guards turns around, completely surprised to see a shadow pass by him. The blur speed leaves him frozen in the middle of the Grand Palace's courtyard. For a moment, the guard stands there, not understanding what he just saw pass by him. He rubs his eyes, thinking that maybe it was just his imagination. Meanwhile, our protagonist passes by other guards who don't even notice his presence. His stealth and speed are so great that he becomes practically invisible. To test his new limits, he unleashes a blast of golden energy and moves forward. A flash of light illuminates the dark night for a brief instant in the courtyard. With absurd speed, he moves through the air like a golden bolt of light. His movements are fluid and precise, showing the results of his intense training. He thinks his level might have gone up, but the guard's skills need to improve. From there, he decides to go to the forge to create his main weapon as quickly as possible. Suddenly, his expression changes completely, and he seems to sense something very strange in the air. His eyes widen with the perception of an important presence or memory. From there, he lands hard on the ground, kicking up a large cloud of dust and wind. His combat stance shows he's ready for any challenge that comes his way. Looking at the Tang clan village in the distance, he is filled with a sense of nostalgia. The sight of the place brings up many memories of his troubled past. With that, memories of the past flood his mind, showing a bustling village that later turned to ruins. The image of the destruction fills him with a deep sadness and a lot of anger. He then remembers how everyone left back then, abandoning the clan in its darkest hour. The betrayal and abandonment still haunt him after all these years. With a determined look, he tells himself to wait just a little longer for his plan. His revenge is getting closer and closer to becoming a reality, and he will not fail. He promises himself that this time, it will be like before, but with a different outcome. His determination to change the future is the force that drives him forward. Correcting himself, he declares that he will make the clan even more prosperous than before. He won't just restore its glory, he will take it to a new level of power. A powerful bluish aura surrounds his feet as he takes the first step towards his goal. The energy emanating from his body is proof of his new, absurd strength. Faced with this, he readies himself with his sword and declares that the first wave will begin there. His grand plan of revenge and reconstruction is about to truly begin. Arriving at the clan's forge, called the Hall of 10,000 Irons, he holds the sword firmly. His hand tightens on the hilt of the weapon as he prepares to enter the place. Before the door, he thinks that he would normally need permission to enter there. But he believes that since it's late at night, there will be no one to bother him. From there, he reaches out to open the large metal door of the hall. However, something unexpected makes him stop midway with a surprised expression. Suddenly, the door opens, and a man stares at him and asks what he's doing there so late. Our protagonist is completely shocked by the man's presence in the forge. Without losing his composure, he makes a gesture of respect and introduces himself to the master of the hall. His serious expression shows that he was not expecting this encounter at all. In his thoughts, he laments having run into the person he most wanted to avoid. That man is the most respected elder in the clan, and even his father treats him well. It's revealed that he is a core member of the Tang clan who doesn't even have the family's last name. A large scar on his shoulder shows that he is an experienced warrior. On top of that, he is the master of all the clan's blacksmiths and the owner of the Hall of 10,000 Irons. His hands, full of calluses and scars, are proof of his hard work and dedication. We then meet the Black Hand craftsman, the great blacksmith named Gu Yongyan. Our protagonist faces him with a tense look and a drop of sweat runs down his face. He remembers that the blacksmith dedicated himself to the clan because of the former leader, Dang Yu Te. But he always maintained a neutral and indifferent attitude towards the clan's internal affairs. Because of this, the memory of that day is especially vivid in our hero's mind. He recalls the moment when the Manhwa escort agency became independent from the clan. At that time, the craftsman who only dedicated himself to forging powerful, divine swords. He ended up leaving the Tang clan along with the traitor Dang Ho, Yale, without looking back. The memory of how the blacksmith looked at him with resentful eyes haunts him again. Right after, the man turned and left without saying a single word. Our protagonist doesn't understand where so much resentment came from, but those eyes were irreversible. Faced with this, he decides it's better to postpone his plans for now and retreat. With a disappointed look, he apologizes for disturbing the craftsman so late at night. His expression shows the frustration of having his plan interrupted in such a way, but our hero says he had an urgent idea and came to put it into practice in the forge. At this, the Black Hand craftsman just closes his eyes and tells him to go ahead. Our protagonist is confused by the response, and the blacksmith tells him to do what he came to do. With a serious look, the man tells him to stop messing around and come out from wherever he's hiding. Suddenly, a girl appears and announces that the young clan leader is there at the forge door. Surprised, our hero recognizes her as Seal, and the girl thanks him for everything last time. The young woman seems a bit sad and lowers her head without saying another word. With a smile, our protagonist says he's relieved and that what matters is that she's alive. The craftsman comments that the leader forbade our hero from leaving for 7 days and nights. Our protagonist is surprised, and the blacksmith tells the girl not to bother him and for them to leave. He thinks that the master let him use his equipment and promises to thank him next time. Already inside the forge, the Blackhand craftsman calls him, and our hero responds promptly. The blacksmith is silent for a brief moment with a very thoughtful expression on his face. But he just says to forget it and turns to leave with the girl, Seal. Our protagonist is completely confused as he watches the two of them walk away from there. Our protagonist decides to put that matter aside for now and focus on his goal. With that, he finally pushes the door and enters the forge, ready to start his work. Holding his sword, he states that he cannot miss this rare opportunity, no matter what. He then remembers a saying that for a master, weapons are just a means to an end. But with a serious look, our hero thinks all of that is complete nonsense. After all, in this world, there are divine artifacts that can transcend martial arts. Analyzing the weapons, he finds it pathetic that the hall's skill is so mediocre. From there, our hero picks up a large metal blade to start his work. With the weapon in hand, he wonders if this is the best the master of the hall can do. He thinks the blacksmith deserves to be called a master, but his skill is still insufficient. Even without his artifacts, the blood cult has many demonic weapons and armaments. Before the forge, he recalls that they are weapons perhaps even more terrible and cruel than his own. Therefore, to destroy them, he needs divine artifacts that are equal or superior. He then puts on a pair of leather gloves and says he normally wouldn't use them for forging. With a strong step on the pedal, our protagonist finally starts to heat up the furnace. With the furnace lit, he prepares himself and says that what he's about to do is something special. From there, he places the Moonwave sword directly into the intense flames of the forge. Facing the fire, he states that this is no ordinary forge like the others that exist. With an absurd focus in his eyes, he prepares to begin the creation process. At that moment, he remembers his past life and the tragic invasion of the blood cult. The pain and confusion of that time return, and he wonders where he is and what happened. Amidst the destruction and chaos, he walked aimlessly, trying to understand the situation. The image of his scream of despair and agony with white hair haunts him again. With his teeth clenched in anger, he relives the helplessness he felt on that terrible day. Lying on the ground, he wondered if he was even alive after everything that had happened. Faced with the situation, he questioned why he was the only one to survive amidst the chaos. He saw himself as a metalworker who creates divine artifacts, but also as a demon. That was a legendary story that only the founder of the Tang clan managed to achieve. He remembers when, even in chains, he swore he would put an end to the blood demon. His cry of fury echoes in his memories and fills him with determination for the work. The image of his face, distorted with rage, returns to his mind with full, uncontrolled force. He remembers when he was hanging upside down, completely helpless and without hope. At that time, the blood demon lord appeared and made him a very tempting offer. But our hero refused with hatred and told the lord to get lost, without a second thought. The lord was unfazed by the refusal and continued with his blackmail to get what he wanted. With that, the villain asks if he doesn't care about the lives of the remaining members of his clan. The demon lord states that to him, it doesn't matter if they live or pass on to a better place. He boasts that unifying the martial world is just a matter of time for his power. Then, the lord threatens him, saying that next time he will throw their heads at him as a gift. Our hero thinks that such a cruel man wouldn't keep them alive, but he has no other choice. Faced with the situation, he clenches his fist and decides that if that's the case, he'd rather give in to the deal. And so, he finally accepts the deal to protect what's left of his own family. But he sets a condition, saying that divine artifacts are based on the user's martial arts. Because of this, he demands that the blood demon lord share his arts with him. With that, he swears he will make the blade of vengeance flourish, and thus, 10 divine weapons were born. These 10 weapons became known as the 10 demonic weapons and announced his birth. Back in the present, he thinks that melting the meteorite iron with the hall's fire is impossible. But with the power of his metal circulation technique, he states that he will be able to melt it. With that, the sword's blade completely melts and flows into a metal mold. And so, he picks up a large wooden hammer and prepares to start forging the weapon. From there, he begins to hammer the metal with absurd force and speed on the anvil. Right after, he dips the blade into a barrel of water to cool it down quickly. He then thinks of a weapon that blocks everything, and at the same time can cut through anything. With that, the image of the blood silk demon empress's symbol appears in his mind. Before the forge, he creates the celestial silk and remembers that it consisted of 9 sheets of material. From there, he picks up the single sheet he managed to create and says that doesn't matter now. With a focused look, he states that what he wants to create is not the original celestial silk. Right after, he unleashes a yellow energy and shoots it towards the golden fabric. He wants to create a thread that far surpasses the threads of the celestial silkworm of the plains. And so, he creates the sister work of the 10 demonic weapons, the powerful celestial silk. He names his new creation the celestial net, and suddenly a figure drops from the ceiling to attack him. The mysterious intruder lunges forward with a powerful blow towards our protagonist on the ground. But to the man's surprise, the celestial net easily blocks the attack, stopping him in mid-air. At this, the aggressor is completely shocked and yells, not believing what just happened. Our protagonist stares at him and thinks that for an elite from the Martial Alliance, they're pretty careless. From there, he recognizes him as the former commander of the guards and apologizes for his rudeness. Sun Yugon is furious at the audacity, and our hero says he arrived at a great time for a fight. With the blue threads in his hands, he reveals that he just happened to have something he really wanted to test.